What's up guys, Max here and welcome back for another GPU review. This time is the Asus TUF 1650 Super. Why this brand and model? Well, because the Asus TUF is actually one of the cheapest options out there and the design, in my opinion, is quite good, but you will see the detail in a moment. And now, without any further ado, let's get started. This card is very similar to the non-super version. We have the same connection, so DVI, HDMI and DisplayPort, but we have some difference though, that we have the 6-pin power connector that wasn't present in the non-super version, a better cooling system with an heat pipe, so you can see here is improved, since the card is now 100 watt TDP versus the 75 of the non-super version. And there's another very important aspect of this card is the encoder. The non-super version have the Volta and Venc encoder. Now we have the Turing encoder, so it's more or less 15% more efficient. In this video I didn't test the streaming capability of this card with the NVENC encoder, but it's something that I want to do, especially during a ride or some stressful situation, and then I can compare it to the non-super version and maybe the AMD card. We'll see, it's something that it takes time. So now let's see some numbers. Let's start with the Gryphon run, quality 10 and 1080p. For the 1650 Super is a good start. In this area is the clear winner. At stock we have an average of 87 FPS and a steady 60 FPS of 1% lows, head-to-head with the OVerclocked RX570. And OVerclocked we have a good 5% increase. Also, it's good to see that the 0.1% lows of the Super are above 50 FPS against the 40 and the mid-40 of the other GPUs. At quality 7 we have, once again, a similar difference between the three GPU tested. Both the RX570 and the 1650 Super can sustain an average of more than 145 FPS, with a peak of more than 160 when both cards are overclocked. This time though, the RX570 show to be more effective in the 1% lows, with more than 100 FPS versus the 90 of the Super. But if you are playing with a high refresh rate monitor and adaptive sync, the difference between the two is almost unnoticeable. In dungeons, the two cards are almost similar in the average FPS, but the RX570 shows again to be more effective in sustaining the 1% lows with a 76 FPS at default clocks and 87 FPS when overclocked. The 1650 Super is at 55 FPS at default and 63 FPS when overclocked. Not bad, but since the difference is high, it's worth mentioning. This time I've captured some gameplay. Keep in mind that I use a dedicated PC to record the gameplay. Recording the video have no impact on performance. What you see is the real performance of the card. Again, if you have a high refresh monitor and you want to max out your refresh rate, you need to lower the graphics quality to 7 or to a custom-made profile. Ride performance. This is where this card really shines. At quality 10 1080p we have the same performance of the overclocked RX570, 74 FPS on average and 50 FPS of 1% lows, with a 0.1% lows of 42 FPS. Overclocking this card will give us a good 10% more in all the bars, but since the gameplay with the card at stock is more than enough for a 60Hz display, my advice is to leave it at default and enjoy the game. Check another gameplay and see it for yourself.
Kneel before your queen! From darkness, sirens come forth! Coax the power from these ancient wards!
At quality 7, the card performance is still very solid, even at default, with 57 FPS in the 1% lows, and 87 FPS on average, and 99 FPS with the card overclocked, right below the RX570 by 1 FPS. Raids are tough on the GPU, so if you want to play in Raid with a high refresh rate display, you may want to take a look to higher models, like the RTX 2060 or the RX 5700 that I'm going to review in my next video.
Coax the power from these ancient wards! Rattle the chains that bind him!
Stars save us. Azara is drawing upon the heart of Azeroth, feeding its energies into her ritual.
You've only just come to this realization. First Arcanist indeed. Champion! Don't you, heroes? Every move you've made has been according to my will. That lumbering dwarf believed you could save Azeroth by empowering your shiny little heart. The gift of a sleeping titan. Yes, a titan's heart is exactly what was needed.
Now, here I have another interesting thing to show you about this card. The noise levels are even lower against the non-super version, 33.7 dBA both in idle and in gaming. With a maximum temperature of 64 degrees Celsius, the fan doesn't go past 40%, even after hours of riding. And we have the same exact behavior with the card overclocked. If you're wondering how this card will perform at higher resolution, well, I tried 1440p, so QHD, and in open world this card was fine, in dungeon was fine, but in raid we had some issue. So the FPS at quality 7 was dropping below 60 frequently, and you might need to lower the detail at quality 4 or quality 5 or something similar. So in my opinion, this is not a card to play at 1440p, and you need to look for a better one. Alright, this is all for today, and if you have any question, please drop a comment in the section below or join in my Discord server if you want a quick answer, and I'll be happy to have a good chat with you. Now, you know how to do. Like the video if you liked it and subscribe if you want to see more. And see you in the next one.